Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Chrissy B Show, and we are the UK's first and only TV show dedicated to mental health and well-being. So today we have a special treat, an interview all the way from the US with CEO of the Pheiff Group and talent concierge Connie Pheiff. She's also an award-winning keynote speaker, four-time author, and more. The impressive thing about her story was that when she was young, she was told to drop out of school to work to support her family. However, she was determined not to give up. We'll be hearing her inspiring story later of how she got to be so successful today. And it's not just inspirational content we have for you today. We also have tips to help you look after your mental health and your physical health too. Our psychologist, Dr Audrey Tang, will be talking about dealing with loneliness. Nutritionist Severine Menem will be speaking about the effects of alcohol on both physical and mental health. Dr. Rob Hicks will be giving his advice for a problem that many people find embarrassing, and that's smelly feet. We have our workout of the week, Natalia Kotowska, and a healthy recipe straight from Hannah Richards' kitchen for sweet potato patties. So let's get started with our first guest, Dr. Audrey Tang, talking about dealing with loneliness.
Hi, I'm Dr. Audrey Tang from the Chrissy B Show, and this week's Psychology Matters segment is all about loneliness. Loneliness is not to be confused with social isolation. And the sad part is, even though we seem to be more connected than ever because of social media, people are reporting feelings of being even more lonely. Loneliness is a feeling of sadness in response to missing a specific person or a specific group. And that differs from social isolation just because we can feel terribly lonely even if we're in a crowded room. There are a number of reasons as to why we may feel so lonely. And it starts off really because now life is all about projects. We jump from one thing to another. Our projects only last maybe a couple of months, 2 years if we're lucky. And so parents find it very difficult to lay down roots. They might be moving their children every couple of years or so. And so we find it difficult to learn to make friends and to learn consistency. Also, in such a fast-paced world, we tend to respond very much like magpies. We flip from one thing to another. And this means we never really practice the art of consistency. We never practice the art of actually sticking with one thing long enough to see how it works out. And then, because all of us are jumping from one place to another, and we feel we're connected because of things like social media, it is no wonder that we're feeling even more and more alone. There are a few things that we can do for ourselves if we are beginning to feel lonely, especially if we've moved to somewhere new or we're trying to start something afresh. And that is get out there in real life. Maybe volunteer for something, start a new hobby, join a class. I don't necessarily say the best thing is to get a pet just yet, because you might find that if you enjoy a class, you want to be going out more often to that particular class. But even with that advice, I would say, remember, you're also an adult. So it does mean if you don't like it, you don't have to carry on going. There is nothing worse than actually trying to fill the loneliness with things that are making us feel more and more exhausted and doing nothing for our actual need. If you are missing specific people and they are maybe in a different country or something like that, make future plans to go and see them, and then you also have something to look forward to. Rather than message on online platforms, pick up the phone, write a letter. Those things can be really helpful too. Another thing that's absolutely wonderful is to really start living something called your vitals. Now, this is something when it comes to realizing who we are, because if we spend a little bit of time on our own, we can start thinking about who we are really. And if we begin to live authentically, we start attracting people who share those particular values and share those particular thoughts and behaviors, and that will start to fulfill us. Now, our vitals include 6 different things. V stands for our values. What are they? Do you value consistency? Do you value loyalty? Really think about what it is that you actually value. I stands for interests. What do you like doing? There is no point trying to force yourself to do things that you really don't enjoy. So think about what you enjoyed in childhood and maybe try something related to that. T is for temperament. And temperament is particularly interesting because that relates to the type of environment we really thrive in. If we're very fast thinking and we enjoy a lot of different stimuli all at once, then we need to be in that sort of environment. A is about thinking around the clock. Now, what that means is, are you a morning person or an evening person? Do you function better as a night owl? Do you function better if you're an early bird? Then start doing things at those times around the clock, because you'll also see other people, if you're out for a jog in the morning, who also like jogging in the morning, and you have that in common. L is your life goals and what is meaningful to you. If you think about the things you've achieved and what's meaningful, you might be able to get that focus on the areas you would like to concentrate on. And S is finally your strengths. What do you see as wonderful about yourself and what do other people see? If you can start living your vitals every day, you'll find that it attracts people who also share those same values. Loneliness is one of those things which we can work from, and we can't force connections, but what we can do is take those first steps in order to hope they will flourish.
Thank you very much to Audrey there. So now it's time to head over to our nutritionist Severine Menem, who'll be speaking about the effects of alcohol on both physical and mental health.
Hi, I am Severine Menem, a nutritionist, and today I'm going to discuss alcohol. There is no safe level for drinking alcohol. The NHS says that if you drink less than 14 units of alcohol per week, you've got low risk. But on the other hand, The Lancet published a study suggesting that if you drink more than 100 grams of alcohol per week, you increase your risk for all diseases. And 100 grams is only 7 glasses of wine of 150 ml or 7.5 pints of beer. But on the other hand, there is a French paradox that says that French people who drink alcohol quite often with saturated fats at all meal, have a lower risk of cardiovascular disease. And also other studies suggest that people who drink moderate amount of alcohol have less risk of certain diseases as people who don't drink any alcohol or heavy drinkers. So we haven't really found out, what exactly we need to do. But it is pretty safe to say that if you drink not that much alcohol, or if you stop drinking alcohol for a while, it is actually good for the body. So what are the short-term and long-term effects of not drinking alcohol on the body? First, short-term. When we don't drink alcohol, we actually sleep better. Not because alcohol prevents us from falling asleep, but because alcohol interferes with the quality of the sleep, meaning that often you would wake up during the night or earlier than you should. And when you sleep better, you have more energy, which is always something great to have. And on top of that, when you stop drinking alcohol, you stop retaining water, because alcohol, as we know, is a diuretic. So our skin, when we drink alcohol, tend to be a bit dull and lifeless. But when we stop drinking alcohol, we look better because our skin all of a sudden has a lot more plumpness and is more shiny. And the last short-term effect, which I think most people would agree is a very good one, is when you stop drinking alcohol, you are most likely to lose weight. Okay, next is long-term effects. Drinking alcohol has been linked to a number of cancers, including breast cancer and throat cancer. Also, drinking alcohol has been linked to fatty liver disease. So you're reducing your risk again by stopping or slowing down on alcohol. And last but not least, for men, alcohol has an impact on the quality of your sperm. So by reducing your alcohol, you would improve your fertility. So what are the effects of alcohol on mental health? We all know that it's very easy to have a glass of alcohol to help relax. But what we may not know is that alcohol is actually a drink that has an anxiety and a stress effect on our body. And the way it works, it has an impact on our neurotransmitters, which are the cell that helps transmit all the messages within the body. And it's very well known that people who drink, and actually who drink quite heavily, are more likely to get mental health conditions such as depression.
Thank you very much to Severine. So after the break, Dr. Rob Hicks will be giving his advice for a problem that many people find difficult to talk about, and that's smelly feet. And we also have the first part of our interview from the US with Connie Pheiff.
I don't want people to think they have to learn to live with depression. I know there's a permanent cure. And I know sometimes many people hear that, you can manage depression or learn to live with it. And that's something that I totally disagree with, because depression is such a horrible thing to experience and to live with on a day-to-day basis, because I've been there and I know. But I also know that there is a solution, a permanent solution.
Depression has always been something, people say it's incurable. Once you get depressed, you'll never be free of it. But it's not true. You don't have to manage it. You can get rid of it. And that's why it's payback time.
Obviously, I'm taking a couple of these books today, 2 signed copies, in order to give it to some relatives of mine.
I know that this book will progress. Yeah, it's about time. It's about time. It steals too much time for people's lives. Yeah, it's about time.
Welcome back to today's program, everybody. So now it's time for some medical advice with Dr. Rob Hicks.
Hello and welcome to Doctor's Orders here at the Chrissy B Show. I'm Dr. Rob Hicks. Today we're going to be talking about a subject that is incredibly common, but often causes people a lot of embarrassment, and that's the topic of smelly feet. It's really a common problem, and the cause is essentially down to the fact of sweating within shoes or within socks and not changing shoes often enough, so the sweat builds up within the shoe. Now, it's not actually the sweat that smells, it's the bacteria that live on our skin. They digest the sweat, and in that process of digestion, they release chemicals and gases, and that's what smells. That's what causes the smelly feet. So anybody can be affected. That said, it is more common in teenagers and in pregnant women because they're more likely to sweat because of hormone changes. But it's also more likely if you spend a lot of time on your feet all day, if you're wearing tight shoes, and if you have a medical condition called hyperhidrosis, for example, which causes excess sweating all around the body. Stress too can actually cause us to sweat more, and therefore, if you live your life under a lot of stress, then smelly feet might be one of the signs of that. Now, the good news is it is possible to prevent this from happening in the first place, and it's down to 2 key things really. One is keeping your feet clean and dry, and the other is trying not to live in the same shoes day after day after day. Ideally, give a pair of shoes 24 hours after you've worn them for them to dry out. The sort of things that we recommend for people to do, whether they've got smelly feet or not, but particularly if they've got smelly feet, is to wash their feet once a day with an antibacterial soap. Make sure you dry the feet properly and pay particular attention to making sure in between the toes is dry. And make sure again that you don't wear the same shoes if possible every single day. Rotate them, giving the shoes time to dry out. And make sure you wear a clean pair of socks each day as well. And ideally, the socks should be made from natural fibres from wool or from cotton, because these fibres, these materials, actually help the feet breathe better. Then there are a number of things that you might consider if you've got smelly feet. So for example, using a deodorant or an antiperspirant on your feet, using medicated insoles in your shoes, or maybe there are special socks available for people who've got very sweaty feet that help to absorb the sweat. And ideally, shoes should be, again, natural materials, so leather, for example, because once again, that will help the feet breathe more easily, help disperse the sweat rather than allowing the build-up. And I can't emphasize enough, if it is possible for you to wear a different pair of shoes on alternate days, then that's very beneficial. Now, if you've taken all these steps and your feet are still smelly, they're still sweating a lot, despite you putting all these different measures into place, then why don't you have a chat with your doctor? Because sometimes there might be an underlying medical condition that's responsible. Sometimes there might be a side effect of medication that you're taking that's responsible. So these things can be addressed. But also, your doctor is able to prescribe a stronger antiperspirant that can help reduce the amount of sweating in the feet. Remember, it's the sweating, and the shoes that are mostly responsible for the smell once the bacteria have digested the sweat. But also, your doctor may refer you for another treatment to try and combat excess sweating, something like iontophoresis, for example, where you put your feet into some water and a very mild electric current is passed through. So smelly feet, an embarrassing problem, a problem that can have an emotional toll on a person as well. But there's things you can do to combat it, and that's doctor's orders. Back to you, Chrissy.
Thank you very much to Dr. Rob Hicks. And now we have the first part of our interview from the US with Connie Pheiff, interviewed here by Winona Marie.
Hi Chrissy and the viewers at home. Today we have with us lovely Connie Pheiff. And Connie Pheiff is the founder and CEO of Pheiff Group and the president of Talent Concierge. She has come through so many challenges to get to where she is today. Connie, I'd like to start by asking you, what challenges have you had in your career to become a CEO?
Wow. We may not have enough time to go through everything, but to get to the point to where I am today, I mean, there's been a lot of roadblocks. There's definitely been a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles to overcome. I mean, all the way back to as a young girl, I remember, all excited. I was going to be 16 years old. My grandmother was, telling me, well, we're going to get you a car for your 16th birthday. And it was, so exciting. And I lived with my grandmother. But the caveat to getting a car was that I was going to be quitting school.
Okay. So what were you going to do for your future? You were quitting school. Oh my word.
And I sat there and I thought, quit school? I was devastated. But just a little bit of backstory to that is, in my family, school really wasn't important. I came from not a medium-sized town, but we were very poor. And my role in the family, again, living with my grandmother, is that I was taking care of the neighbors. I was cleaning houses for the neighbors, for our elderly neighbors. I was doing grocery shopping. I had my bicycle with the basket on the front, and I would ride around and looking for jobs, looking for work. I was babysitting, even ironing men's shirts.
I did that job. That's a fun job, actually. I like that one. More than the delivering groceries.
Yeah. And you'll laugh because, especially in those really hot summer days, yeah. I would have a bottle of beer next to me. All right, I'll drink my beer and I'll iron these shirts. That's how we made money. And then I would watch my cousins every day. They would come over before school, take them to school, feed them lunch, clean the house. I mean, that was my role in the family. And now I joke saying I was an entrepreneur before I knew what it was, because I was always hustling. I was always out looking for that next thing. So, being told at that age that, no, you're going to quit school and get another job. You're going to work at the local sewing factory or something. That's traditionally what our family did, and no one ever completed school. And so I was going to be the first generation in our family that would not only complete school, but complete high school. And I was determined to do that. And as sadly as it was, and I also look at it as a blessing, because I would pray and pray and pray that I don't want to quit school. I don't want to quit school. I don't want to quit school. I would be in my bed at night under the blankets with the flashlight doing schoolwork, so I can maintain my C average. Right.
It's a goal.
It was my goal, because I had all of these other responsibilities going on. And then my grandmother died. She died a month before my 16th birthday. She died a month before my birthday. And as devastating as it was at that point in my life, because now the only adult that I knew that I lived with died. But again, I learned to be a survivor, and I started staying with different family members before I eventually ended up going back home and staying with mom and dad. And I just did what I had to do. And so I was a couch surfer. And I ended up on the Honor Society and the Dean's List in school. And I became a cheerleader. Yes. It was all those things that I couldn't do before. And now to me, it was like freedom. And I still had a job. I had a full-time job while I was going to high school. And so, I was able to continue that. And so that lifestyle, that part of who I am, and becoming a survivor and learning how to live, that really has brought me forward all of these years. And trust me, there's been a lot of other bumps and different challenges along the way, but it allowed me and set me up with that foundation that I was able to get through that next hurdle.
So with the education that you did get, what did you do? How did you use your education practically?
So it took me about 20 years to finally get my master's degree. It was a little bit of a challenge getting there along the way. But I finally did. I finally finished. I got my master's in public administration. I still feel to this day that education is so important. And I know there's a lot of people that, they're getting fantastic jobs and they're living, glamorous lives without that education. But the normal individual person, you really need to have that. Maybe it's not a 4-year degree, maybe it's a technical degree, or, something where you have some sort of training so you can fall back on something, because there's so many challenges in life. And so many things that we have to overcome, and especially as women. And it's definitely changing a lot today from when it was, 40 years ago, when I was really, stepping out there and trying to figure out what I was going to be doing. But education was so important, and I was able to then take that education, and I did that while I was working my way up. I was director at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And I was director of development, so I was asking people for lots of money. I knew how to sell. I know how to sell for sure. And from there, I went on to be CEO of Girl Scouts of Penns Woods Council. And I still didn't have my degree, though. I worked my way up through the School of Hard Knocks. And it was after I lost my position with Girl Scouts of Penns Woods Council that I said, okay, I need to finish my degree. Up until that point, I had about 2 years in so many credits. And every time I had a chance, I was a single mom by this time. And, I'd have some extra money. I'd go back and get, another class and another class. So after losing my CEO position, I said, okay, I have to finish my degree. So I finished my bachelor's, and then I went on to get my master's in public administration. But what that did for me, it had nothing to do with the educational, that I learned, the classroom work. And granted, I mean, there were things that I had to learn, but some days I was sitting there and I felt that I was giving the class. But what it did for me, it gave me the confidence to say, I can do this. I don't have to rely on somebody else to do it, that I can do it myself. So it gave me that confidence. And I talk, you know, the Girl Scout mission is building girls of courage, confidence, and character. And I feel that that education piece gave me the courage, confidence, and character to go after what I want to do in my life.
So after the break, we'll watch the second part of Connie's interview and hear about some advice that she gave to a little girl who wanted to become an editor and how that led to that little girl to become very successful in adulthood. Plus, we have our workout of the week with Natalia Kotowska. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, host of the UK's only TV programme dedicated to mental health and well-being, The Chrissy B Show, which airs on MyTV Sky 191 every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Follow our social media on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter at Chrissy B Show and our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. For more information, visit chrissybshow.tv.
So let's go inside and see what's happening.
Everyone has problems, right? Everyone goes through things. But the important thing that we were trying to get across today is that you don't have to stay alone with those problems, right? You can open up and talk about them.
If you don't tell nobody, you're keeping it inside and you're making yourself more worried.
Absolutely fantastic dancing and stomping out those emotions.
Yeah, that was fun. I've been practicing in PE lessons for the warm-up, so they've been showing me some good dance moves.
Welcome back to today's Chrissy B Show, everybody. So now it's time to watch the second part of Connie's interview and also to hear about some advice that she gave to a little girl who wanted to become an editor and actually how that advice led to that little girl's life becoming very successful in adulthood.
So what advice would you give for women out there right now that feel like they have something to give, but they don't have the education or maybe they don't have the skill set? What advice would you give them to kind of follow in your footsteps?
Never, ever give up. Never allow anyone to tell you that you can't, because you could. And that was, and you know, working at Girl Scouts, I believe that was the greatest gift that I received working with that organization, because most girls in the organization do come from low poverty families. And you know, and I would have conversations with them. I remember the one just pulled at my heart and went to visit this young girl. She was actually the one that started. They called me the queen at the Girl Scout camp. I was the queen, and then, you know, with everything that was happening, then my family, you know, and friends were giving me the title, you know, you're unstoppable, because I just kept overcoming something. But when I sat with this little girl, and she was probably maybe 10, 11 years old at the time. And, you know, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she goes, I want to be an editor of a newspaper. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? And, you know, and we're having the conversation. And I said, so what are you doing to work towards the career that you want? And she's like, well, really nothing. And I said, are you going to go to college? No, my family can't afford it. And so I said, are you in a newspaper at school? No, we don't have any. So I said, well, this is what I'm going to suggest to you. Go back to your school and talk to your counselor about starting a newspaper in your school, and you become the editor. Right? I said, even if you have to just, you know, print it out on a computer, I said, it doesn't have to be fancy. It could be one, you know, front and the back, and you ask other people for stories, and you create that, and you become the editor. And she did that. And she went off to college. She was able to get a scholarship, and she became an editor at the New York Times.
Oh my goodness.
And
is it the same lady I know? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, that's been, several years, so we've lost track. But that's the advice that I just give women. And I do know women, and I do want to add this, that they get stuck, or I know, women that have been divorced and they just don't know where to go with their life. And my advice is really talk to someone, to find someone that you aspire to be. Have a conversation with them. Everyone wants to feel needed. Everyone will be glad to have those conversations with you. And just figure it out what it is that you want to be doing in your life. And so I've been doing this business for 12 years since Girl Scouts left me, because I did a major realignment. I lost my position, and just last year I had something devastating happen with the business, and I was crushed. I was crushed. And there was a bit of time. There was a bit of me that was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted. I just can't do this anymore. But I look back at all of the challenges that I've been through, all the way back to being that girl, 16 years old, and fighting for the right to stay in school. And I said, no, I am going to stay in this business. And I looked at things differently. I rebranded, I refocused, and we're over a year later, and I'm running Talent Concierge, our agency, and it can't be better.
Oh, well, you just took the last question out of my mouth. Then you answered it. I was going to ask you, how does it feel to accomplish so much, but it can't be better. So what's next for you?
Seriously, what's next for me? I have a lot of goals for Talent Concierge, and in our agency, we represent many, many amazing talent. And we're not a speakers bureau, but our talent come in, we mentor them, and we work with people who have had that success. And maybe something happened in their life. Maybe they've lost their position, or they're an athlete and they can't play anymore. And they're like, what do I do next? So many people feel that way. Even me after Girl Scouts, I worked so hard for it. And then afterwards, it was like, what do I do next? So those are the people that I work with. And I show them that there is a next. And so where I'm going next, like I said, there's so many craziness. In 2020, we're starting a master's class. So these individuals, I coach them, I mentor them, I teach them how to speak, how to own that big stage. Maybe they're going to write a book, tell their story, write their memoir, whatever it is. And again, I work with actors, athletes, executives, people who have found success. And my mission is that we work with the world's most daring minds who are keeping the passion of life activated. So when we find those individuals, I call it the Jerry Maguire agency, because I want to be very specific in who we work with. And they really need to fit in where they're coming from, the place of heart. And they want to give back to others. They want others to succeed. And that's where we're coming from. And so then once they go through the training, and then again, we're adding the master's class, and that'll be more in-depth training for them on how to speak and how to be a great main stage keynote speaker. Then we have a team of publicists, and we also have a team of schedulers that'll get them scheduled for more media, that'll get them scheduled for speaking engagements around the globe. And so, when we work with event planners, they're, of course, they're like, well, how are you different? Why are you different? The one thing that we're different is, like I already said, we're not a speakers bureau, because we hand select our speakers. We personally train our speakers. So when they step on the stage, they're 5-star ready to speak. And we spend a lot of time with them in the training aspect of that to get them to where they are today. So again, for 2020, we have the master's class coming. We're also starting an app for Talent Concierge. It's gonna be like a dating app. Oh, you want this one? Nope, swipe. No, we don't want that one.
The speaker's not going to see the rejection, right?
No, they won't. No, it'll only come back to us here. But it really is amazing. And we also hold 2 showcases per year. And we just came off one in Los Angeles, and where our talent come, and we're in a studio, and we're streaming it live around the globe.
You truly are busy. Thank you so much for stopping by today and for being on Chrissy B's show. Chrissy, it's back to you.
So thank you very much to the And I Thought ladies for providing us with that amazing interview. So now it's time for our workout of the week with Natalia Kotowska.
Hey guys, it's me, your fitness instructor, Natalia Kotowska, and Keep It with Nat. And today we're gonna exercise our lower body together, our legs. But before you start to exercise with us, please make sure you check your health condition with your doctor, with specialists, if you can or cannot do certain exercises. So stay with me. First one, you're gonna go into your deep long squat. While you're going up, you're gonna raise your leg up. Straight leg. So try not to kick it. Use your inner thighs to lift your leg up. One more time. All the way down. Make sure your chest is wide open. Roll your shoulders back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down to your squat, leg up. Now you're gonna really feel it in your bum. One more time. Deep squat while you up, leg up. Deep squat and up, and speed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you want to go at least for 10 of those. 10 of those. Trust me, you're going to feel your bum and your legs after this one. Shake it off. Breathe. On to the next one. So the next one, team, we're going to go to side lunge. You're going to lean to one side. Make sure your body weight is on your heel. Try to make sure your knee doesn't cross your toe line. And you're gonna switch. Come back up, lean to the side. Up, lean. Now let me show it to you from the side so you can see the angles you're looking for. Your body weight on your heel. 1, 2. Push your bum as far as possible on your heel. Supporting leg is fully extended. Up. Squeeze your bum on top. To the side. Squeeze your bum on top. One more time from the front. Deep long squat. Down. Down. Squeeze. Down. And again, you want to go at least for 10. Try to go each side. Let's see if you can do it with us. And the very last one, we're gonna go to front lunge, kicking that knee high up. 1, 2, my back knee is close to the floor, my hands are up, squeeze. We wanna go for 10 each leg, then we're switching. And 1, and 2. Look at me from the side. Chest was wide open, shoulder blades together, hands up, back knee close to the floor. 1, 2. I finished 10, I'm switching legs. And breathe. Thank you so much for staying with us. It wasn't easy today. Come and join me with the next episode. Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you very much to Natalia. So after the break, we have a healthy recipe straight from Hannah Richards' kitchen for sweet potato patties, and I'll be talking about my final thought of the day.
It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay not okay.
I teach people to see depression as an enemy, not as a friend. I'm always going to be speaking about how you can actually kick depression out of your life, and I give tips in the book of what you can do, how you can start to see depression so that you can get rid of it for good.
Miss Chris, you've done a good job, and you didn't want to keep this help to yourself. You decided to share with everybody. You wrote a book which gives access to anyone who wants to improve.
She was able to get out of depression. Now she will be able with the book to get not only in UK but around the world.
Because it's time to reveal to the world the truth.
If you know anyone who is suffering from depression, then this book is highly recommended.
The MHD Challenge Tour continues. Keep on fighting depression, yeah?
A lot of young people do struggle with mental illness, and it really does help to talk about it.
I think all the children love the little crush and the little stamp.
Really understanding that the feelings are associated with the movements as well that we've been practicing today.
My favourite part of the dance is when we done the stepping and crushing. I'm going to recommend this to all my friends and make them do it.
Welcome back to today's Chrissy B Show, everybody. So now it's nutrition time and we go to Hannah Richards' kitchen for a recipe for sweet potato patties.
Hello, my name's Hannah and today I'm going to show you how to roast some sweet potatoes and beetroot and turn them into some little patties. So here are your sweet potatoes. They're full of beta-carotene, which is great for your skin. And here are some beetroots, which are really great for all your detoxification, kidneys and liver. But today we're going to roast them all. So just simply put 2 or 3 small to medium sweet potatoes in your oven baked dish. Take your beetroots from their stalks. You can just simply twist them like that till they come off. And then we're just going to put them into the oven. I've got a preheated oven, about 200. Just keep having a check. Some ovens are hotter than others. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of olive oil over the top to crisp the skins. And then I'm going to add a twist of sea salt. So I'm just going to make sure they're all coated slightly. There we go. And we're just going to pop them into the oven, 200 degrees for about 35 minutes, but keep checking. So the beetroot and the sweet potato have been in the oven for about 35 minutes on around 200, but it's really important to check your temperature of your oven. Some people's are quite hot and some people's aren't, so it's only really a guideline. So let's have a look. Okay, great. So as you can see, they've already sort of changed color, and when I take a knife into them, that skin just wants to peel right back, and that's when you know they're ready. If you stick your knife into the heart of the vegetable, it comes out nice and clean. So they're absolutely perfect. Great. So once those beetroots and sweet potatoes have cooled, or they've got to a temperature which you can handle, you're going to take this one big sweet potato and just cut it into discs like that. Now you can take the skin off, but I'm not going to because I like the skin, and it's the skin that's got lots of nutrient value to it, lots of vitamins and minerals. You're just going to mash it with a fork. That's all you need for this recipe. So all I'm going to do is add some spices now. I've got some chili, some crushed chilies, which I'm just going to sprinkle over. And I've got some turmeric as well, just to sprinkle a little bit of the powder for this one. There we go. A little bit of sea salt as always, and your faithful black pepper. And again, give it a good mix around. There we go. So there's our sweet potato. Now onto our beetroot. Now you've got to be careful with the beetroots because they're really staining. So we're just going to top and tail them. And again, let a little bit of extra heat out of them. So make sure your frying pan is on, nice and hot for this recipe again. I'm going to take my coconut oil and I'm going to put a bit into the pan, and I really want to make sure it's hot. So now the pan is on and I can hear it spitting a little, and that's the sound you want to hear when you're about to do these patties. So just take a tablespoon of the sweet potato into your hand, and you're almost just trying to make it like a bit of a ball like that, okay? Then return it back and put it into the pan. And you can immediately hear it sizzling. So once you can hear them sizzling away, just take a wooden spoon or a spatula and you're just going to press them down very lightly. Okay, so what we're just going to do is we're going to have a nice little topping for those sweet potato breakfast patties. They're a great thing to do for a brunch in the morning, but obviously again, all this food you can do any time of the day. So just take out your avocado. I'm just going to use half of one and just chop it in the bowl. And then just give it a mash. So I'm just mashing this avocado down to size like that, so it turns into a little bit of a paste. Okay, now we just roasted those beetroots and you can see they're a beautiful purple crimson-y colour there. And all I'm going to do is slice them as thinly as I can. And this is going to be the garnish for the top of my potato cakes. So I'll leave them there to the side. Now, with the avocado that you've just mixed, make sure you season it really gently with really just some pepper and some salt. And I'm just going to cut a very thin slice again of cucumber, just for that change of texture and that freshness and crispness that a cucumber offers. There we go. So let's just have a quick look at these cakes again. So you can see that the potato cakes have really started to crisp up, and this is what you want to see, that they're just slowly trying to hold themselves together. You don't want any bits of potato floating around the pan, because the idea is that you're going to put other things on top of these. Just take a thin spatula and slowly place them down onto your plate. And all I'm going to do now is add a small amount of our avocado on top of each of them like that. I'm going to take those chili flakes because I like things a little bit hot. I'm going to drizzle a fraction of olive oil. And I'm just going to put my favourite bit of rocket in the middle there. And there you have it. Breakfast fit for a king.
Thank you very much to Hannah and to all my guests on today's programme. So what I wanted to home in on today is the importance of actually finding a way to do something or to be something. So things don't generally just drop into your lap. You actually need to make a way to make things happen. So for example, the little girl that our real life guest spoke about before, she wanted to be an editor, and she was asked by this very successful lady what she was going to do to work towards it, or what she was already doing, and she actually said she wasn't doing anything. But then she was advised to actually go to her school and ask if there was a possibility to start up her own magazine, even if it was just on A4 paper, and she could be the editor of that magazine. So this is what actually led her to have a scholarship, and now she's an editor at one of the largest newspapers in the US. So you see, it was just an action. It was just actually a question that she went to ask at her school. If she just carried on kind of dreaming to be an editor and, you know, hoping one day that something would happen, it's very unlikely that she would be one of the editors of the largest paper in the US today. It's because she did something. She was advised to go and do something, to go and get the ball rolling. And as you saw, it wasn't a big thing that she started to do. It was just a simple school newspaper. That was all. Probably just double-sided A4 paper, but it started the ball rolling. And sometimes you might think to yourself, but I have a dream, but I'm not sure what to do towards it. It seems so far, it seems so out of reach for me. The important thing is that you do something, and that something will lead to something else, and that something else will lead to something else, and then before you know it, you'll be quite close to achieving what you wanted to achieve, and one day you will achieve it. So remember, things don't just fall into our laps, we have to make things happen. So we have reached the end of today's program, everybody, but if you have a story that you would like to share, do get in touch with us by emailing info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet or Instagram us @ChrissyBShow or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. If you want more information about this program, visit chrissybshow.tv. And if you'd like to know more about my mental health journey and how I recovered, you can visit my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Until next time, bye-bye for now.